Welcome to this unexpected story. In a small farm in Norway, the German army is busy checking things out, but the locals are anything but easy to deal with. Mara scoffed, "There are no strangers here. After all, everyone knows the drill. Recently escaped Norwegian hero. Don't get him started. Maris is definitely not a fan of this traitor." While they were chatting, Mara suddenly spotted a figure in the woods. Yup, it's Jan. Talk about a heart-stopping moment. The Germans were wrapping up their search, and Maris had to deal with them quickly before sending them on their way. After watching the Germans depart, filled with urgency, he and his sister hurried off to find Jan, and at this moment, his figure was like a guiding light of hope. Maris let the kid show off, and then he and his sister checked Jan's injuries. Seeing that first injury was enough to break anyone's heart. Jan escaped from the clutches of death once again. This kid really has 9 lives. The Germans checked Jan's backpack and found a drawing by a little girl. It was nothing short of talent. The signature was ripped off, and Kurt had no clue whose it was, but it was clear that Jan wanted to live. The only hope lay in a farm near the avalanche, and Gudrun was taking charge. After a few days in coma, Jan woke up and the first thing he heard was the roar of an engine. Jan urgently asked for a gun while Gudrun shot out the door like an arrow. It felt like a showdown was brewing. Kurt himself led the team for another round of searching. What a risk taker. Once inside the warehouse, Jan hid behind a haystack on the second floor like a little elf playing hide and seek, heart racing. Just as Kurt was about to climb up, his badge almost got snagged. To talk about a rookie move. Kurt quickly jumped down to retrieve the badge, but this search yielded nothing again. He was utterly disappointed. After the Germans left, Maris quickly carried Jan out to time his life, and it was just too dangerous. Maris took Jan to a little cabin like he was sending him on a vacation or something. He left candles and snacks, reassuring him that he would definitely get him to Sweden. What a careful promise. Once Maris left, Jan buckled under the pain from his foot. Talk about a tough time. With endless nightmares and struggles, Jan finally snapped and just pulled off his socks. He carefully cut open the bandage, and at that moment, a terrible stench hit him. Definitely not a pleasant surprise. Jan took a hefty swig of liquor, stuffed a cloth in his mouth, and had to cut off the dead part. Talk about rhythm even when in pain. After cutting the first ailing toe, Jan was sweating bullets, feeling like he was in a grave, but he soldiered on. Enduring heart-wrenching pain, Jan shoved the dead toe into a crack in the wall, coming up with a makeshift remedy. Then he blacked out for good. It seems like mastering the fainting technique requires practice too. When Maris and his team returned to the cabin, it was already 12 days later. What a delay. During this time, Jan went through countless struggles, showcasing his indomitable spirit. Little did they know, 12 days later, they learned that Jan had cut off a toe. Kurt was at a loss for words regarding this poor guy. This tortured man was a tragic figure. No matter how grim things got, he had to keep his spirits up. Maris set him at the door and began assembling a sled. Their goal was to whisk Jan away to safety. Maris coordinated the rescue, and the relay began, slowly getting Jan to the border, though it was far from easy. They had to dodge the German patrols while keeping an eye on Jan's health, a real treasure hunt on the run. They could only move during the day. If the Germans found an empty farm, it would spell disaster. Facing the night, Maris had no choice but to hide Jan in a rock crevice. A clever move indeed. For Jan, every minute felt like torture. Such Herculean willpower was the key to survival. On the 4th day, Maris told his sister, Jan must have made it to Sweden by now. It transpires that the rescuers couldn't locate Jan. What an incredibly cruel twist of good fortune. Maris hurried up the mountain to the hidden boulder, dug through the snow, and found Jan, who seemed to be breathless. Overwhelmed with guilt, just then, Jan slowly opened his eyes, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Yat provided Jan with water and food, while Maris marked the rock's position again. Jan's optimism and resilience kept the flicker of hope alive in the darkness. This experience was unforgettable. He had to continue lying under the rock waiting for help. It turned into a 6-day retreat, like a training camp. Poor rescuers just arrived and ran straight into a snowstorm. It was like a plot twist from a bad movie. Jan's been on the run for 36 days now. I'd bet anything this is tougher than a rally race. The relentless snowstorm delayed the rescue further. Maris' team had to stash down in a cave. It's like a bad sequel. They were still a ways from Sweden, with German guards everywhere. Going through would be like asking for trouble. So, without a safe transfer method, they had to wait. Kind-hearted Norwegians came in shifts to check on Jan, bringing warmth to the whole. Some checked his foot, while others brought food. It felt like a cozy neighborhood gathering.